So you had a conversation about AI with Sam Altman of OpenAI and
Mm.
with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
What was the content of that conversation? What's your vision for sort of this very highest of tech, which is artificial intelligence?
Well, first of all, I have a high regard for the people I talk to. Okay. I understand that they understand things I don't understand, and I don't pretend to understand everything, but I do understand one thing. I understand that AI is developing at a geometric rate, and mostly in political life and in life in general, people don't have an intuitive grasp of geometric growth. You understand things basically in linear increments, and the idea that you're coming up a ski slope is very foreign to people, so they don't understand it, and they're naturally also sort of taken aback by it, because what do you do? Okay, so I think there's several conclusions from my conversations with them and from my other observations that I've been talking about for many years. I'm talking about the need to do this. Well, the first thing is this: there is no possibility of not entering AI with full force. Secondly, there is a need for regulation. Third, it's not clear there will be global regulation. Fourth, it's not clear where it ends up. I certainly cannot say that. Now, you might say, does it come to control us? Okay, that's a question. Does it come to control us? I don't know the answer to that. I think that as one observation that I had from these conversations is, if it does come to control us, that's probably the only chance of having universal regulation, because I don't see anyone deciding to avoid the race and cooperate unless you have that threat. Doesn't mean you can't regulate AI within countries, even without that understanding. But it does mean that there's a limit to regulation, because every country will want to make sure that it's not doesn't give up competitive advantage if there is no universal regulation. I think that right now, just as 10 years ago, I read a novel. I don't read novels, but I was forced to read one by a scientific advisor. I read history. I read about economics. I read about technology. I just don't read novels. Okay. On this, I'm follow Churchill. He said, "Fact is better than fiction." Well, this fiction would become fact, and it was a book. It was a novel about a Chinese American future cyber war.
Mm-hmm.
And I read the book in one sitting. Called in a team of experts, and I said, "All right, let's turn Israel into one of the world's 5 cyber powers, and let's do it very quickly." And we did, actually. We did exactly that. I think AI is bigger than that and related to that, because it'll affect, well, cyber affects everything, but AI will affect it even more fundamentally, and the joining of the two could be very powerful. So I think in Israel, we have to do it anyway for security reasons, and we're doing it. But I think, what about our databases that are already very robust on the medical records of 98% of our population? Why don't we stick a genetic database on that? Why don't we do other things that could bring magical, are seemingly magical cures and drugs and medical instruments for that? That's one possibility. We have it in, as I said, in every single field. The conclusion is this: we have to move on AI. We are moving on AI, just as we moved on cyber, and I think Israel will be one of the leading AI powers in the world. The questions I don't have an answer to is, where does it go? How much does it chew up on jobs? There's an assumption that I'm not sure is true, that the 2 big previous revolutions in the human condition, namely the agricultural revolution and the industrial revolution, definitely produced more jobs than they consumed. Okay, that is not obvious to me at all. I mean, I could see new jobs creating, and yes, I have that that comforting statement, but it's not quite true. because I think on balance they'll probably consume more jobs, many more jobs than they'll create.
At least in the short term. And we don't know about the long term.
No, I don't know about the long term, but I used to have the comfort being a free market guy. I always said, we're going to produce more jobs than, by, limiting certain government jobs. We're actually putting out in the market will create more jobs, which obviously happened. We had one telecom company, a government company. When I said we're going to create competition, they said, you're going to run us out. We're not going to have more workers. Yeah, they had 13,000 workers. They went down to 7, but we created another 40,000 in the other companies. So that was a comforting thought. I always knew that was true. Okay. Not only that, I also knew that wealth would spread by opening up the markets, completely opposite to the socialist and semi-socialist creed that they had here. They said you're going to make the rich richer and the poor poor. No, and made everyone richer. And actually, the people who entered the job market because of the reforms we did actually became a lot richer on the lower ladders of the socioeconomic measure. But here's the point: I don't know that we will not have what Elon Musk calls the end of scarcity. So you'll have the end of scarcity. You'll have enormous productivity. Very few people are producing enormous added value. You're going to have to tax that to pass it to the others. Okay. You're going to have to do that. That's a political question. I'm not sure how we answer that. What if you tax and somebody else doesn't tax? You're going to get everybody to go there. That's an issue, an international issue that we constantly have to deal with. And the second question you have is, suppose you solve that problem and you deliver money, okay, to those who are not involved in the AI economy. What do they do? The first question you ask somebody whom you just met after the polite exchanges is, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, people define themselves by their profession. And it's going to be difficult if you don't have a profession. And, people will spend more time self-searching, they'll more time in the arts, more time in leisure. I understand that. If I have to bet, it will annihilate many more jobs than it will create, and it'll force a structural change in our economics, in our economic models, and in our politics. And I'm not sure where it's going to go.
And that's something we have to respond to at the nation level and just as a human civilization. Both the threat of AI to just us as a human species, and then the effect on the jobs, and like you said, cybersecurity.
And what do you think? You think we're going to lose control?
No, first of all, I do believe, maybe naively, that it will create more jobs than it takes.
Write that down and we'll check it.
It's on record.
And we don't say we'll check it after our lifetime. No, we'll see it in a few years.
We'll see it in a few years. Oh. I'm really concerned about cybersecurity and the nature of how that changes with the power of AI. And in terms of existential threats, I think there will be so much threats that aren't existential along the way that's the thing I'm mostly concerned about. Versus AI taking complete control and becoming sort of superseding the human species. Although that is something you should consider seriously because of the exponential growth of its capabilities.
It's exactly the exponential growth which we understand is before us, but we don't really, it's very hard to project forward.
To really understand.
That's right. Exactly right. So, I deal with what I can and where I can affect something. I tend not to worry about things I don't control because at a certain point, there's no point. I mean, you have to decide what you're spending your time on. So I think, in practical terms, I think we'll make Israel a formidable AI power. We understand the limitation of scale, computing power, and other things. But I think within those limits, I think we can make here this miracle that we did in many other things. We do more with less. I don't care if it's water, the production of water, or the production of energy, or the production of knowledge, or the production of cyber capabilities, defense, and other. We just do more with less. And I think in AI, we're going to do a lot more with a relatively small but highly gifted population, very gifted.